Welcome to Marketeers Clubhouse. I'm Jamie Kalon. It's fairly common knowledge the bicycle industry is in a bit of a pickle right now. Coming out of COVID, most brands had overproduced their product just to a point that the marketplace couldn't absorb it, not even close. Because of this, most brands had to contract. You've been seeing staff cuts, wild discounting, marketing budgets slashed, which includes racing. And of course, this broad and somewhat oversimplified statements meant to paint a picture of the overall industry. Not every brand got themselves into trouble, but a bunch of them did. Back in episode 3 of this season, I was so intrigued by the chaos that I spoke to Rob Roskop. Rob's the founder of Santa Cruz Bikes, and at that time he had just left Santa Cruz, and there was some real head-scratching treatment of Greg Minnaar. Greg is the undisputed greatest of all time mountain bike downhillers, and he had just left Santa Cruz at the time of that discussion and headed over to Norco. Now, this was surprising to just about everybody that follows the world of bicycle racing. So, on this special On the Road episode, I flew to Vancouver, Canada to go to Norco's head office, where I got a chance to sit down with Greg and the head of brand, Gwen. Amazing to see what this Canadian founder-owned brand, like the founder's still a thing there. They exercise great control, and as a result is being able to make some very surprising and, dare I say, brilliant investments into their future. I think everyone knows my guest today. Welcome to the Marketeers Clubhouse. I'm Jamie Kalon. I need an introduction. Gwen Van Lingen. Did I nail it?
Perfect.
Bam! I'm so terrible
Straight
with
out the
names.
blocks.
Our other guest today is pretty good at bikes.
Yeah.
Greg Minnaar, welcome. We love getting on the road and going and doing stuff. Last one I did on the road was at Oakley with a friend of yours, Brian Takumi. And when we had the opportunity to come and talk to Gwen and yourself, I was very excited to do it. I'm always interested to talk to people about the environments that they work in. Gwen, you and I work kind of in offices now, running around. We get to go to all these events. Your office is in the woods.
Yeah.
And my office used to be in the woods, and I was blessed to have that. What's your relationship with nature? Like how?
So this is a deep question.
I want to
Straight
start
up
off right off the get. And to be really honest, I don't care about bike racing much anymore.
Yeah.
I really want to know about you.
What's my relationship with nature?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd say I've probably actually never thought about it, but I've probably taken advantage of it way too much. And I've never had to be in an office or have a repetitive routine to an office. I've got a home office, and but if the surf's good and I can just shuffle my schedule around, I'll be doing that. And so maybe I've just taken advantage of just living being very blessed with a great life, being able to be outdoors and not have to actually think about it.
Well, I think we're also pretty blessed because we both come from Africa. And Africa's, I always call it God's country, but, we grow up in the wild, different animals outside. I mean, our culture is very sport orientated, and we grow up in a very sporting environment. So
Yeah.
I would say Greg's most probably, like he said, taken a lot for granted, but that's a little bit of a nature from where we both hail from.
Yeah, you guys come from the cradle of civilization. So, you guys come from one of the most interesting places on the planet. And I was joking with producer Brad today on the flight. I'm like, we're flying to Vancouver from Calgary really early in the morning to speak to two South Africans about a Canadian bike company, which I just found was hilarious. And then I thought Kona, Santa Cruz, which is northwestern, as close to like the border as you can kind of get a bike company, and then obviously here at Norco, you're glued to this little area as a.
It seems it, right?
Yeah,
Because my career started on, well, I guess, yeah, it kind of kicked off on Kona, back in 99, before moving to Orange in 2000. So, yeah, you're right. It does circle back.
Yeah, you have an affinity for this part of the world. You don't have a domicile here. And Gwen, you've been out on this side for a long time as well with, West Coast is your coast. So congratulations. It's the best coast. We're real good with that. I spoke to Rob Roscott earlier in the year, right when you guys were moving. And I was gentle. I have affiliation with Santa Cruz, and I love Santa Cruz. They are the holders of the patent that I created with my friend James years ago for VPP. And so I don't like dogging on Santa Cruz, although I was baffled with the moves that they made. And I talked with Rob sort of in and around the podcast and off air, and I got kind of some of the background, and everyone was confused when Gwen lured you over. And I know Gwen from Oakley, and I know Gwen executes like a motherfucker. That's number one.
And you speak her language.
And I speak her language with all the F'ers.
Yeah.
That part made sense. And I had tons of people coming to me because I'm in the bike world in a very strange way still. And they're like, they just didn't get it. And I go, it makes perfect sense to me. Yeah. And part of this comes down to where you are in your career. And that was the part that baffled them. But to me, it's crystal clear. So I'd like you guys to tell me if I'm wrong. Mountain bike downhilling is not all balls and guts and machismo. It is a little bit. But a lot of it comes down to this feel that you hone over the years. And you hone this feel by busting yourself into a million little pieces, and you iterate on your process, and you learn and learn and learn. And you get this insane ability, like a Jedi master, to be able to understand what the bike does with the ground. You can understand that. In fact, you highlighted it so good in France a few weeks ago. You guys were training. What was your sort of training run seedings like?
Yeah, so the seeding's hard, because nowadays you've got like these qualifying rounds.
Of course.
Got, 10 guys who are protected through the rounds. And then you've got from 20 to, or 10 to probably 40th rider who are trying to make it in, so they can't risk anything. They can't risk a mistake, can't risk a crash. And then you've got the guys from like 40 upwards who are like, hey, we might as well give this a little bit of a run. Feeling good.
Shot.
Just let's go for it. So I've been kind of positioned in this tough place where you can't risk a lot, and you got to make sure you're perfect to be in. So I was just skimming through the round. So 44th in the qualifying, then 30th into the semi-final. So I was the last ride into the final.
And what was the track condition? It was perfect, right?
Yeah,
it was perfect.
It was as fast as it's going to be all week.
And so this is my highlight of the feel. Most people don't watch tons of World Cup mountain biking. We're talking to marketing people. The weather turned to shit.
Well, it did, but the biggest problem we had was the rain had come, and you've now got this like baked hard packed track, and the rain had come, so it sits on top. It's super glassy. It's unpredictable as hell. You actually wanted to like piss down, soak in,
flood it,
throw a mud tire on, and off you go, and you're fine. You could follow the kind of little river down. They just say follow the river down the track, right? Kind of cleans the rock, cleans the roots, digs into the mud. But when it hasn't rained a lot, you can't ride a mud tire, you can't ride a dry tire. There's no river to follow down. The water's just sitting on top of the track on this hard pack, so it's the tires aren't biting. You're just drifting everywhere. So that was our first big kind of choice, was what tire to use. So we actually ended up sending up a team to change to like an intermediate. To me, that was the safest way to go.
Which is a sage decision of someone who understands what's going on.
Yeah.
But the thing when I look at this, and not to diminish any of that or the work that the team did, but you have someone with not 10,000 hours of expertise, but 80, 100,
right,
1 million hours of feel. And you go, everyone else is shitting bricks where you're like, I got this. You've done it. You've ridden every route down that ride. You've touched in one form or another in a different track in that exact slickness. And if anyone doesn't know mountain biking, roots are a nightmare, rocks are a nightmare. These things, when they get wet, are ridiculously slippery. Your feel, your ability to go down this is so much better. You got third.
Yep.
And that's a huge change. So what really changed is everyone else shit bricks, lost their stuff, didn't know how to manage it. And the person who actually knows how to manage it could show his skills, pull out all his superpowers and get down and do it in a way that like put you on a podium, for a brand that really wants a podium finish.
Yeah.
It's fucking masterful. And I looked at my friends and I'm like, that's why Norco did it. And they're like, because they wanted to win. I go, no, it's not because they want to win. They want a guy who knows how to ride a bike, who knows how bikes work, so they can make their bikes better. Someone with that level of feel knows how to tell the engineers what to do. You need a really good test pilot to tell someone how to make an F-18 better. You can't just put any pud in it and expect them to come back with results. You need someone who actually gets it. Which, when I look at what Norco is doing, that feels to me exactly what's happening. You guys are staging this in the shadows brand to say like you've referenced it, Gwen, like you guys are there. It's a great company, product's great, engineering's unbelievable, but you're kind of in the shadows below a couple really large monsters. Jim Gennard, Gwen, years ago quoted, "Everything can and will be made better. It's just a matter of who and when." This might be the who and when.
Unlock premium brand management and achieve optimal market hygiene with Regulator. Regulator's Market Check engine provides real-time data on your in-market presence, enabling marketing and sales teams to make informed decisions and maintain brand consistency. We call this market hygiene. Market Check data, in synchronization with Regulator's powerful tools, allows for the efficient management of custom artwork, fixtures and displays, ensuring a consistent physical presence in your retailers. Regulator ensures a cohesive and agile market presence for your brand. To learn more about how Regulator can help supercharge your brand's in-market presence, visit us today at brandregulator.com.
How did you put this together? How did it start? Did you see this coming out the way that it did?
I mean, I think when I joined Norco, we were looking for a bold move, something to really position the brand globally and start gaining brand awareness. The downhill team seemed like an obvious place to start. We had a downhill team, but we needed to really elevate the brand awareness and really get the brand out there. Greg and I met in Snowshoe in Montana, and I've obviously had a long career with Greg and I've known Greg for a very long time. And we just started chatting, and I could see Greg wasn't the Greg I knew. He was a little bit on edge. And so once we started digging a little bit further, I realized there was an opportunity, and that would have definitely revolutionized the space for Norco. But it wasn't just about the riding, it's about relationships, as you already pointed out. But the fact that Greg is such a great brand ambassador. I'd worked at Oakley for a long time. He'd been an amazing brand ambassador. He's great with product. He's great with people. He's a dream for any brand, really, no matter what, because he gives everything. And we had a vision. It wasn't just about Greg racing as long as he wanted to race, but it was how do we put him in the sport after he finishes racing? What can he contribute to Norco that really starts elevating the brand? And it was an obvious, Greg really leaned into it. I want to be with the brand for the next 3 to 4 years. I want to get the next generation. I want to build the fastest team. I want to build the fastest bike. It's a strategy that was airtight. And, once Greg saw the bike, was on the bike, it was very clear that it was going to be a great relationship. And, the team got put together very fast. Everything came together really fast. Greg was giving way too many hours to the team in the beginning, just really because we're building a team for Greg to take over. So it was very important that Greg was part of all the decision making, whether, what the team looked like, who was on the team, who was the support team. Our support team as well as our riders, are world class. And that's a team Greg is going to be able to take over once he finishes racing. So it's set up for him, and it's, every athlete wants to land somewhere when they are not racing anymore. And I think I'm just so pumped that Greg can stay in cycling, love what he does, and really contribute back to cycling into the next generation. No better mentor in that space on this planet.
I feel that there's a world of better out there that I can't wait to see. I mountain bike. I want a better bike. Like I do. And I feel that your position at Norco might really help, like just actually help produce way better product. I hope that I've got this positioning correct, because to me, everyone is, not everyone, tons of people miss these two South Africans, sneak in, congrats. I don't know if you're here illegally or not. I know you're flying around in shaky planes. But it's a really cool move. Am I close to where you guys want to take this? Like, what's the real plan here?
Yeah, I think you narrated that pretty good. I mean, I feel like that's the game plan, right? And one thing you didn't really touch on was the engineering side. Like, I don't know how new it is, but I was so surprised to hear it. I mean, you just heard we were just talking in the room earlier with all the staff, but it's something that stood out to me. I'd never seen a shock dyno in-house. I'd never seen a fork dyno in-house. Rating the springs on the shock. I'd never seen this level of professionalism in-house in a bike brand. So, these guys are serious. They want to build the best stuff out there. So it's, I love product. I like getting involved in product. I like pushing the boundaries in product. And it's very in line with what you're saying. We spend a lot of time on the bike, probably more time than most product developers or engineers. And so we have this feeling, and we can feel the smallest of things. And to me, I've always said that if, there's a big argument, well, the general public will never know what you guys are developing, or will never be able to feel it. But when my wife goes on a ride and she rides a bike and she feels confident on it, she doesn't ride a lot. She's not a rider. She feels that that's the best bike out there because she was more confident on it. And if we can build a bike and relay that info and knowledge into the bike, that improves the bike by 10%. And if a customer or can feel just 5 or 10% more confident on the bike that they're on, then we've done a great job, because then that's relayed all the way through to retail. I think that's important.
Yeah, no, that's huge. Like being able to, there's a couple things. Like if Michael Jordan didn't make so much damn money, he probably would have given more back to basketball. Basketball gave him everything.
Right.
For us working athletes in some way or another, like, we can produce riches, but we can't produce generational wealth. And we also are in love with a sport that has given us something that's really important. You own a bicycle store. Your father owned a bicycle store. You started as a motocrosser and BMX and all these different things. It is who you are fundamentally. And for you to be able to make the sport better. It's the only thing like my cycling career, it was okay. But the thing I'm proud about is I brought a game, like a technology that leapfrogged everyone else's suspension technology forward. I got to do that. And that's the greatest thing.
How did you get into that? You got to tell me more about it. Because, I've raced VPP for years.
Yeah.
And I guess we're on something that's not far off right now.
No, it's our basic patent still is there. First off, thank you. I get to walk around and say my technology has won more World Cup mountain bike races than any and all combined suspension technology. So I get to do that in very large part to you. So thank you. And trust me, I do that.
Touch on it briefly. Kathy Sessler raced on Outland. Greg Miller, a South African rider.
Yeah.
And so, I remember Outland. I remember the bikes, the team. Kathy still works closely with me today.
Yeah, Outland was a thing. That's right. I was part owner in it, obviously, because I was co-inventor and struggled with the management, which I talked to Rob about. I sort of got myself out of that at that point and actually went and got hired by Oakley to work for Oakley, which was amazing. And I just moved
What
on.
did you do at Oakley?
I ran a big territory. I was an ex-athlete for them,
Yeah.
so they were my sponsor kind of all the way along.
Okay.
And I ran a big territory, and then I started a marketing company at the same time as I owned the agency, and then I started doing marketing for Oakley, which is one of my main clients right now, where I still sort of do that. Anyways, before that, ended up racing pro for GT.
Back then, GT was the brand.
It was the brand. I was their Canadian downhiller. Podiumed as a pro at our nationals. Said that's it. I was just broken all the time. I was a good bike racer, but I had no self-control.
Yeah.
So I kept grenading myself all the time. But one of the problems is the bikes would erode underneath me. I'm 6'4". I was 175, 180 pounds at that point. With that much leverage on a bike, especially back then, I was on RockShox 1s and RockShox Judies.
Yeah.
It was that old.
Elastomers, right?
The original
I think
RockShox were like oil.
Right.
And so all that stuff, my bikes would erode under me.
Would it be like an RTS or an LTS GT? Or
I was on, that's exactly, I owned both, well, they'd given me both
Yeah.
LTSs and RTSs. And I preferred, because I also did a little bit of cross country, I had both, but I preferred the RTS because it would just lock the suspension out versus just wallowing all the time. I kept breaking them. Sent the last one back after a podium, and I said, hey, I know why your suspension, I know why these bikes are breaking, and I've got a bunch of suspension ideas. Give me a call. And I wrote that in the bike when I shipped it back to him with like notes on why this thing kept breaking. And I got a note back that said, thanks, kids. Kid, we're good. And I bring this up to
they replied, right?
Yeah, they replied. And we figured it all out, patented it all, and then produced Outland. And then luckily, after it failed, because Gwen had that company got buried, Rob called me out of the blue one day, and he's like, I'm thinking about buying this patent. I'm like, good luck dealing with those guys. And he's like, are you gonna get paid on this? I'm like, I'm sure I'll get paid something. And he was really kind and nice. He's like, how'd you guys figure this out? We just figured it out. I've got the original drawing of it in my house that me and James came up with. And it's just like a pen drawing of exactly what I needed a bike to do. And James figured out the linkage pretty much immediately. And it's like, here we go. Wow. Yeah, anything can happen. And back then, everything sucked. So anything could have been better.
Yeah.
Regulator simplifies the management of fixtures and displays for brands. We provide a seamless solution to allocate, order, ship, track, and manage lifecycle processes from installation to disposal. It's the all-in-one tool that ensures your brand moves smoothly in the market without any bottlenecks. Give us 15 minutes to show you how we will save you time and money. Go to brandregulator.com.
I feel, Gwen, we glossed over a little bit of your career that got you here. This is a marketing podcast. And so I was very interested in making sure that I got you on it, even though you kept trying not to do it. Can you run over a little bit? I feel that it's very difficult for women. Marketing is, no matter what, a boys' club-y thing. Lots of bros. Can you just give me a little brief timeline of where you came, how you came to this point?
Yeah, well, I mean, I started as an athlete, so I was sponsored by Oakley for a long time. And then I started in South Africa in 2008, and then landed up coming to Fort Hill Ranch, the HQ, in 2013.
What sport, if you don't mind me asking?
Track and field.
Okay, perfect.
Or running. I mean, I did marathon running as well. But
Wow.
Olympian.
There we go.
Medalist. Yeah.
There we go.
Didn't mention that.
but
That's one of those medals.
But I loved the sport industry. I always felt like I fitted right in. Never was restricted in any shape or form. I never have been. I'm quite extroverted, so I can hold my own. I can hold my own. And then landed up being with Oakley for 15 years. Great brand, great global awareness, obviously very integrated into athletes and events and building one of the strongest brands. So it was a really good platform for me. And then I went to 100% for 2 years. And then I did a consultancy stint here at Norco. And when I finished that, then they they asked me to stay on to do brand. And really, I only started in October, so I've been here for a couple of months, but really great opportunity for us to really elevate the Norco brand. As you said, they have a really strong hold in Canada, really great brand, but a lot of opportunity to explode globally. You know, a lot of work to do in the US, and, you know, having someone like Greg, who's very global and very universal, really pumped up that awareness very fast. Now it's just building on that and really keeping the consistency. You know, all the content, the documentaries have been so well received. Like Greg said.
They're great, by the way.
Yep.
They're great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. The team had a tough start, but I would say that the Norco team is the people's team. People are they're rooting for the team. They really want the team. So much commitment, so much dedication. And I think those documentaries, they peel back the onion a little bit. They give you a look behind the scenes of what it is like to be on the downhill circuit, all the challenges, all the wins, how well the team is gelling. It really humanizes the team, and I think that's what people want. And the team does that really well. And it's all authentic to the brand. It's very authentic to the riders. And it's really setting up Norco's vision for the future, really to evolve the next generation of athletes and obviously to put the best product on the planet.
Yeah, I feel you guys are there. When you look at the move that you two are doing as a brand play, which this is, you know, like to me, this feels like a 15-year-ish kind of stabilization. Is that like, do you guys have lofty goals for that kind of timeline, or?
Yeah, I mean, Norco's a 60-year-old brand this year. I think lots of people don't know that. You know, even just talking to Greg for the first time, I think it was hard to believe that a brand, and you know what the cycle industry has gone through over the last couple of years is intense. And for a brand to be stable means the brand is well loved. It's a great brand.
It is,
Product is great. I don't have a goal for that long, that's for sure. I think we have a really lofty goal for the next 3 to 5 years. And if we can execute on that goal and really, you know, lay down foundations to be a really solid global brand, I don't think it's going to take more than 3 to 5 years. That's the goal. And we're moving fast, and we have a very solid plan. And obviously having someone like Greg, who you mentioned earlier, it's the feel. Greg has a really good feel for product. And so, you know, we can take someone who really loves the industry, loves product, has great partnerships with many people globally. I mean, it's inevitable that we're going to have good things coming to the brand, and we're really going to push on that. Greg is, you know, going to mentor the next generation of athletes and get involved in product and really put everything he knows into product, which is a lot. And, you know, you talk about trust. People have a lot of trust with Greg. He's been in the industry for a long time. He's most probably one of the most well-loved athletes in the world. You know, we look at it on our Instagram channel. We see, you know, when Greg came to Norco, every time we have a documentary, Greg is a well-loved athlete. He's you know, he's been around for a long time, and he's always done good by people, and he's done good by his brands, and he's going to be a real asset to this brand for sure.
Yeah, it's massive. I love it. You mentioned it real subtly, and one of the things that surprised so many people is coming out of COVID, the bike industry was literally in the dumps. Everyone has like fucking way too much inventory. It's ridiculous how people kept purchasing inventory, like loading and not canceling POs. They just thought that somehow magically the world would keep buying bikes. This move is so strong. Investment into a racing program when everyone else is contracting is like the world putting a brick down on your accelerator, because everyone else is going backwards and you guys pushed forward, and not forward a tiny bit, but fucking hammered the throttle to go forward. Like, you see that.
Yeah.
Like the opportunity and the timing, this is so masterful in my opinion of like, if we just accelerate now and we invest now, we get an amazing partner and an athlete, we're going to crush. And you guys did it. Congrats to Norco for not over purchasing madly and going crazy so you guys could invest.
But Sean O'Sullivan, who's our CEO, is a firm believer that, you know, when people are taking their foot off the gas, we put our foot on the gas. it's going to gain awareness, right? And that's exactly what it's done.
It reminds me of 2008 and the last big cycle. I mean,
100%.
Rod Roscoe's moves then were very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's again.
Funny, we keep circling back on Rob, but
Well, he's
you know,
He's an
it's the last-
entrepreneur of note.
yeah, like you can't deny that Rob was super impactful in the cycling world. Super impactful. He built something that no one else could properly build, and he did it with great tech, not just on vibe. Like it was all backed. All the holes were plugged. He had it figured. It was amazing. But doesn't mean that's the last time it's going to happen. In fact, it's not the last time. You know, those things are still coming. There's another company right now that we don't even know about. That's a little tiny thing with 3 people that will be a crusher in 10 years. Of course, these things exist and they're coming all the time. No one saw you coming to Norco, you two. Like, no one 2 years ago was like, I have a feeling that this is going to happen. There's no chance. Everyone would have mocked that concept.
But you know, the interesting thing, and Greg actually brought it up last week, is Norco is still founder owned.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Doesn't happen too often in the industry, right?
Yeah.
And we're very close to our independent dealers, which is really unusual. We haven't, you know, we've really been loyal to our independent dealers, and we've built a really good relationship and a lot of trust. And Greg and I often speak about that. Greg's a dealer. Greg's one of our dealers, you know, and that goes a long way. Having a family-owned business, looking after the independent accounts, and doing the right thing with integrity counts for a lot when times are hard.
Yeah, it counts for a ton. And like I designed retail stores for a bunch of different people, and I built some of the largest retail bicycle stores in Calgary. There's massive ones there. It's a really, really healthy market. And Derek Lee, who owns Calgary Cycle, is one of my best friends. I'm working on a bunch of stuff for him right now, and he was here a couple days ago.
Yeah, he was. I was talking to him about
And he is one of the world's largest Santa Cruz dealers.
Yeah.
They love Norco. They love it. And like you guys, your family, you know, Tom Basketball, who's the rep in Alberta, is a good friend of mine. He's a crusher. He climbs like no one. You see him at the trail all the time participating. It's a brand that's actually in the market. And so I really do feel that it's the Canadian brand right now. I deal with multiple, you know, there's lots of good bike companies out of Canada. There's lots. But you guys are the brand in Canada right now, which a couple of years ago you guys weren't. So congrats. Already you've made an impact, and I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
And kudos to you guys. Guys, I don't want to burn a lot of your time. We're getting up to about 45 minutes. I know you got to go on a bike ride, and you were telling me that I'm on a clock, and you haven't been going. I want to first shout out my buddy Johan Hassing the Robots. He's an artist out of South Africa.
Yeah.
He's designed a bunch of my bikes, and I hooked him up with Takumi to do some graphics for Oakley. He's my Instagram buddy.
Yeah.
And he's amazing. So
He's
shout
done
out
some
to him.
really, really good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
great.
he's a great artist, and he likes bikes.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, because then you can get really cool. He's done my last couple bikes, and he's done a bunch of my friends' stuff, and then they go down and get painted by Technar, and he's in Utah, Prince, Utah. What's it called? Yeah, and he's amazing. So shout out to those guys, because it's my only other South African buddy.
There's a lot of us.
It's great. Well, guys, thank you. I really
I've got
appreciate.
a quick question. So Cowboys in Calgary, does that place still exist?
Yeah, of course. It's huge now. It's gigantic.
Yeah. I was actually at the Stampede. We had a World Cup in
course.
in Calgary.
In Canmore.
Yeah. No. It was down the. It was in the
Wasn't
ski,
it? Oh,
the
it's
Olympic
the
ski jump.
Oh, that's so terrible.
I mean, it was World Cup.
That's fucking crazy. Shame
Of
on
course,
Calgary. We literally are in the foothills
That's
of
why I
the
was
Rocky
thinking.
Mountains.
Oh, it's so flat there. But
No.
I ended up staying an extra week holiday and went to the Stampede and Cowboys. So I do know a bit of Calgary.
Yeah. Cowboys is. I can tell you lots of stories about Cowboys. And at Stampede, Gwen, they pop up these massive tents and put thousands and thousands and thousands of people in, and it's just oil guys
Rock on.
and getting drunk, and it's crazy. Did you go to the rodeo?
I went to the rodeo.
Yeah, the rodeos.
Got myself a
thing.
stint.
Makes
Next level.
mountain biking
Yeah.
look like a hilarious kids game.
Yeah.
When you get stomped by a bull, that's a legit deal, like legit. Yeah, next time you come back, look me up. I'll take you to somewhere where it's not flat. There is actually amazing mountain bike there, and it's a healthy market. So sell lots of Norcos there, Gwen.
Keep it up.
Guys, thank you. I really do appreciate you wedging
Thank
me
you.
into the schedule. Super pleasure to meet you.
Great to meet you. I mean, Flip, I've been on some of your work for years now. So
Yeah, my stink is all over in the mountain bike world. It's one of my most proudest things. I'll see like a whole bunch of bikes on the back of a truck, and I'll be like, there they go.
That's me.
Yeah, well, it's just like a little tiny piece of it anyways.
super cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
love it.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Team, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. I would love to chat with you guys next year.
Yeah. Maybe do it in Calgary.
Yeah, we
Round the Stampede, go for a ride.
I would happily bring you.
Cowboys.
I've got a
It'd be
nice
amazing.
little 20-acre horse ranch with a tennis court. You can come out and I'll
Beautiful.
treat you nicely. Gwen, you're invited.
Thank you.
Please. But yeah, I would love to have you guys out at some point. But I would love to chat. I want to talk to you guys down the path a little bit. Good racing seasons, bad racing seasons. To be honest, I believe it's irrelevant. What your results are going to be irrelevant for what you're going to fundamentally do to this company as a human, and that's for the two of you.
Sure.
And I would really like to see where this is sitting in about a year, because if my intuition's right, it's going to be in a different spot, which is pretty dope.
Yeah.
So everyone, thank you so much for tuning into the Marketeers Clubhouse. Thanks to my guests, and thanks for having me at Norco. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.